Hi everybody, my name is Vee and I'm a coach with LadyTheFUp, and I want to talk to you about the importance of warming up and stretching before and after exercises. But before we even dive into that, one of the more important things to really understand is what mobility is. Mobility is the ability to get your joints and your body moving through its natural range of motion and all the movements it should be doing. What that means is if your joints are supposed to be moving in a certain way, in a certain angle, as per the studied expectations, then you are a mobile person. You can be a hypermobile person if you are a contortionist, or if you can naturally extend your joints past that normal range of motion. So for example, people that can do things like this is hypermobility. But if you weren't able to bend your fingers or close your hand more than here, then it means you're hypomobile. You're not able to access certain aspects of your mobility. And the reason that happens is obviously, other than certain neurological diseases, it can also happen because you have either undertrained your body or overtrained your body. Mobility and flexibility, which is a different term that I'm going to define in a little bit, are dependent on your nervous system. They are not just dependent on your muscles and how tight or loose they are. They're dependent on how able you are to access your nervous system and that communicates to your muscles that it can move a certain way. And so why is it important to stretch or to warm up at the beginning? Precisely because of that. Your nervous system is there to protect you. If you take your body past its natural range of motion or its ability to do a certain movement when it's not ready for it, or if you do something that it wasn't ready to do and you're destroying little bits of those fibers when you go and lift, and that's why your muscles grow, but you're not letting it recover and get it back to its natural movement motion, then it means your nervous system is going to want to tell you, stop doing that. And it's going to tighten you up. So part of training that mobility and that flexibility means that you're keeping your nervous system healthy. Now, another thing that can hinder your mobility is if you are overtraining, or if you're lifting too heavy, or if you're doing too much damage to your muscles when you're lifting at the gym and you're not recovering. It means that there's too much buildup of scar tissue in those muscles that are not letting those cells move and just give you that expansion and contraction that it needs, but it creates a scar. And scars are not flexible. Scars do not move. They're like stiff little glued together cells that are just not letting you flow. So for that, there's actually a video that you're going to find in the library that talks about foam rolling and using lacrosse balls or other instruments to help roll over that scar tissue and get it back to normal. But avoiding the buildup of scar tissue is one of the reasons why warming up and stretching is so important. So getting into that too, the difference between mobility and flexibility is that mobility is the range of motion that you can access actively through your muscles. That means you are reaching for a cupboard, you are bending forwards to the floor, you are actively doing something, and that makes you mobile when you can actively get to a certain place. Flexibility, on the other hand, is when you can reach a certain position by just lying there. And it could just be like, a lot of contortionists are actually super flexible because they're not able to get there actively, but they can put themselves in position because their muscles are now overstretched. They've created extra length in those muscles so that they can reach those positions, but they can't actively move into those positions. So that is the difference between mobility and flexibility. One is active, that you can reach, and one is passive, that you can get yourself into. So for those people that can put their arms in weird positions and things like that, those are usually hyper flexible people. Now, when we talk about stretching, there are different types of stretches that you can do. There are active stretches, which means same as active range of motion, you are using the strength in your muscles and the movement your muscles create to create a stretch and lengthen on the opposing muscle. So for example, if you are stretching your quad actively, you are engaging your hamstrings as well. Right? So you're contracting your hamstring, you're lengthening your quad, and that's an active stretch for your quad. A passive stretch, on the other hand, is when you just pull on a muscle for it to lengthen a little bit. So that is one of the biggest differences in the types of stretches that you're going to do when you're warming up versus cooling down. There's also things like dynamic and ballistic stretches. And what are they? They are when you are moving quite a lot. So swings, if you are doing leg swings forward and back, or if you're doing these swings and twists actively side to side, those are dynamic or ballistic type stretches. I'm not going to dive into the details of that. I'm not going to bore you with that, but that is what those types of stretches are. And you're going to use these stretches at different points of your training. If you're going to warm up your body to make it be ready for any movement that you're going to put it through, if you're doing lifting, if you're doing even cardio, whatever it is that you're putting it through afterwards, you should be warming up first. And to warm up, you should be aiming to do active stretches and dynamic stretches, which means either doing body weight squats, or you're doing lunges, or you're doing things with your body where you're actively engaging your muscles and getting that blood flowing through the muscles by actively using them in a resistance that is not higher than it is used to. So you shouldn't be doing anything that's too difficult. You should actually probably be doing something that is fairly easy for you to do, but that is getting your blood flowing, it's getting your heart pumping, and it's increasing your body's temperature. That is why jumping jacks, dynamic stretches, swings, things like that are great for warm-ups, or lunges, body weight squats, things like that are also great for warm-ups. On the other hand, after you are done with your lift, you're done with your workout, you're exhausted, your muscles feel heavy, you are completely tired, you want to move more towards passive stretching. You want to move towards getting your muscles back into the position they should be in and the length that they should be in, so that when it's recovering in the position it should, and not in a shortened position or in a tight position. That's why you stretch afterwards. And you're going to see that there's a bunch of different exercises with muscle-specific stretches within this library. They're going to take you through stretches that you're going to do after your exercises, not before. Those are all for post lifts, after your leg day, after your upper body day, after your chest day, back day, all of that. You're going to do those afterwards, not before. Another thing that's really important about stretching after you lift is that it's going to help move all those toxins and that lactic acid that has been developed or created within your muscles, and it's going to then help as well with recovery. You're not going to be as sore the next day. Yes, you will be sore because obviously you strained the muscle and you should be sore. If you aren't sore, you probably didn't do enough, but that's a different conversation. But you're going to be less sore for less amount of time. So if you're sore for 4 days, if you stretch and you did your exercises or your stretching properly afterwards, you should only be sore for 1 day, maybe a day and a half or two if you want really, really ham on it. But that is really what's important, and I hope that this video has helped clarify all those questions that you had on why you should be doing them and what you should be doing before and after. And go to that library. There's a bunch of different exercises that you can do either before or after your training. There's one that's a really quick full body warm-up if you don't have the time and you just want to do something. It's not the best, but it'll do the job. And then there's an upper body focused and a lower body focused warm-up sequence. If you're doing a full body day at the gym, I suggest that you do both at the same time and just do a longer one. Just take 10 minutes of your time and do it. It'll really help you. And then afterwards, there's muscle-specific ones that you can do for a better recovery time. And if you have any questions, message us. We're here to help.